Hello, artist friends. One of the biggest fears that artists have about putting their artwork online is that someone might steal their images, which is a very legitimate fear because it's easy to do a right click and save as. Isn't that correct? Well, there's several things you can do to mitigate or to limit people stealing your artwork. For one thing, you can put on smaller images online. I've talked about how web images are not good for reproducing, for printing, because they're too small to print out at 300 dpi. If you have a 1200 pixel image, it's 1200 pixels wide, you divide that by 3, it is only a 4-inch image. Now, you won't be able to completely eliminate people stealing your artwork because, they could download it and then use it as their background on their monitors. They'll be able to maybe do a little printout on a card. There's ways to resize it to be a little bigger. However, they won't be able to do a, decent size 16 by 20 from a piece that size. And once you have images that are smaller, there's no way for anybody to regain that image. There's a lot of myth that's spread out there about technology. The technology to resize is out there, but the technology is also really exaggerated on like crime shows. For instance, I was watching, and I cannot remember the image or the show, but they had a video, and then they were like, zoom in and enhance. They zoomed in and enhanced. I mean, this is like all of them, right? And they were able to distinguish who that person was in the image. That's just tall tales told by Hollywood. You can't enhance and change an image to be recognizable once it's tiny. The other things that you can do is you can put a watermark on your images that define it as yours. And that's tricky because if you put a watermark that goes across the image, completely across the image, then you'll end up with, the image being distorted, or not distorted, but they won't be able to enjoy the image. And the idea is for them to fall in love with your artwork, right? The other is to make sure that the best way to keep them from stealing is giving them an option to buy your work at a reasonable price that fits most budgets. So an example of that would be to make prints available, through, Art Print Express, at various sizes, so that most people can afford a $30 print, or up to a $100 print. They'd be happy to support the artist at that. But if you're not making prints available, if you're not making your product, your paintings available at a variety of sizes and prices, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because people are quick to buy on impulse something that's inexpensive, and then you can always grow a portion of those people who buy your work to buy more work of yours. It's just common sense to make sure that things are available. I get calls all the time about web images, and I mean that goes for photographers and artists of all sorts alike. You know, if you have a great image, one that you're putting out there online, and you have somebody who just loves your work, it's a good idea to make prints available. I mean, yes, and I understand that there's people out there that are doing images that are not best enjoyed, but if somebody loves your work, like for instance, like somebody who does collage work, okay, if you take a great photo of it and you make prints, it's not necessarily going to look like the original because it doesn't have that tactile 3D dimension on it because of the various layers that you're putting on it. But it will allow people who can't afford your couple $1,000, $3,000, $4,000, I mean, that's what it's worth, right? Piece, original, you know, if they can't afford several $1,000s for an original, they will still be able to enjoy the print. And at various sizes. We just need to open up our minds to the idea that there are people who will appreciate our artwork at various income levels. It is a difficult mindset to kind of overcome because we're taught in art school and we're told by people who are long in the tooth out there that that's just kind of selling out. You're being Thomas Kincaid. Well, just take Thomas Kincaid's example. He sold a lot of his artwork and he not just made various sizes prints available and made it available in a variety of different ways, but he also made really good money by selling his prints that way. He made a living as an artist. And as of having a product, I always think of one of the first bands out there that really got into all sorts of product placement, product development was Kiss and Gene Simmons. And he saw that his fans would buy just about anything with Kiss on them. And, from lunch pails to, I think anything he could think of to put Kiss on, he would do. And there's nothing wrong with that at all, because the idea is that you want to support yourself as an artist at some point. I mean, at least at the very minimum, pay for some of your paints or your other supplies. And the best way to do that is to make a variety of ways to make the largest number of people who appreciate your artwork be able to support you in a variety of ways. And this will mitigate stealing of your artwork. If all you do is if you've got some kind of a price for one original out there, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. And then there's also the concern that whoever buys the original, these are things I hear all the time, whoever buys the original won't appreciate that you are selling copies of their piece that they bought from you. They won't appreciate everybody else having it. Well, how selfish and myopic is that? They want to support you as an artist. They better be buying your artwork left and right and filling their house with it and making every single one of their friends buy it via Keep It Up with the Joneses, right? And then we also have the obstacle of galleries not wanting artists to sell their prints. And we need to get a little bit better about negotiating these types of things. If that gallery is selling enough of your artwork, your original artwork, to actually give you a really good living. And I'm not just talking about minimum wage living. I'm talking about really good, multi-million dollar living with your work. Then maybe, okay, I'm okay with, yeah, I can live without selling my prints. But that's just a huge fantasy. How many galleries out there are selling enough to make artists a living at 50% commission? And some of them are even higher than that. Some of them are lower. So it's time to take control of all of your images. And, these images are yours by copyright the moment that you make them. So they're your images. You should take control of them. And I'm not just saying that because I own an art print business. I'm saying this because as artists, we need to overcome some of the myths and the mindsets that we are taught. So if you put your image out there online and you make it small, like 1,200 pixels at the widest, people won't be able to steal your work and get any kind of a decent image. But also, to be fair to you and your fans, you need to also make prints available. And I don't really care whether or not you come through me or you go through another agency. Just do some shopping around. Because my concern is that the art that we produce is something that the world needs. And the fear of someone stealing your artwork online is not something that you should be fearful of. I personally, and I do have an advantage, and I'll tell you, I'll be right straight up front with you. I personally don't care if someone steals my images and uses them. For one thing, my face is on them. Okay, so I have the advantage that my subject matter pretty much makes it conclusive of whose artwork that is. So the thing is, my point of view is that the more people who take my images and proliferate them, the more people who see my artwork, and the more likely people are going to, want to buy the work because it's popular. And that's a good thing. There is some advantage in free and proliferation online. So maybe making an occasional downloadable image so if people can take them and get them printed where they wanted to. But make sure that you're getting something out of that. It's just maybe you just want them to be able to print it out at 8x10. You got to be careful about how much free you do. But that is a strategy to get people to actually see your work. And always encourage people to share your work. It's another part of the whole marketing thing. You should not have any fear of putting your artwork up online, especially if you're doing small images, and then encouraging people to share and go about their lives with enjoying your artwork. Eventually somebody will buy the pieces that you're offering. And, if you've got great big pieces, they may work really well on a small scale. Usually they get tighter, and I find that a lot of artists really appreciate the little tiny things that we do. I mean, you could even make note cards of your artwork, and kind of follow that, putting your products on lots of things. If people don't have room on their walls, would they appreciate it on what you do on a t-shirt? These are things just to consider as you go about going out there. That's like the number one question I have when I encourage people to put their artwork online. Well, someone might steal my image. And there's also a way that you can put it in the metadata, which now I'm getting complicated, but there is a place, a file info place. If you do stuff on Facebook, when you type in your information online, that metadata that you've posted with that image also gets put with the image. So when someone shares it, so there goes the asking for the sale. Put the information in and letting people know what the cost is or how to buy it. And that could be just simply PMU. I have prints available starting at X, starting at $30. Contact me if you want a piece. You don't have to start off with complex network of how website and everything. That can come after you've gotten some base audience started. So that's what I wanted to talk about today was the overcoming the fear of someone stealing your artwork. And you have to decide what your priorities are. If your priorities are to create as much artwork as you can and let the least number of people see it, hoping that one of them will buy your work, then don't get online. If your goal is to put something wonderful out into the world, something thought-provoking or wonderful or beautiful or inspirational or commentary out into the world, then you have to take that risk. And there's a risk in every single thing that you've done. I had one artist, she was displaying, and this little old man was walking around, and he was photographing her artwork. And then next thing you know, this was actually at a retirement home. And next thing you know, he was coming out trying to sell. He'd gone back to the copier. He was trying to sell his photographs of her artwork right there in front of her. That was it was an elderly man, and he just thought he was helping out. And so, it'll happen. You won't be able to mitigate or stop all stealing of your artwork, but you can limit it by making things available to people at a variety of ways. So it always cracks me up thinking about that little old man going around photographing the artwork and then deciding he needs a couple bucks. He was like selling them for like $5 a piece or something. It was funny. So just figure out your strategy, figure out what your goals are as far as what it is that you want to do with your work, and then figure out your system to best instigate your goal, best to reach your goal. So that's my Monday inspiration: is don't be fearful of the internet and being having your pictures stolen, because it's liable to happen anyway. I had another artist friend whose artwork was being sold through some company that was a foreign entity, and that was a little frustrating. However, you can put it out to your fans. If you've got enough fans, you can say, hey, don't buy from them, buy from me. Excuse me, I got dry mouth. Excuse me. There we go. Talking enough that I'm breathing through my mouth. I got a little allergies thing going on in my nose. That's a spring thing. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to talk about today. I got somebody. If you say hi to me, I'll be able to say hi right back. You have to say it on the chat. There's somebody there. Anyway, so that's how you limit the stealing of your images, is by making more things available at various price ranges. And then you can let them worry about, framing it or whatever. Meanwhile, you are making passive income off of your artwork. That's what prints do. Passive being, you have to do a little work handling the sale, but you don't have to create a brand new piece. So you can just keep making money. And also, here's a big benefit of that is once you sell a piece, an image, whether it's a print or the original, you have proven it as a product that is marketable. And so that's also a great way to test your pieces. And there's some artists who don't want to let go of their originals. An obvious choice is to make prints available and grow your base. Anyway, that's it for today. And we'll be seeing you later.